And last point, and maybe it depends on what your situation is, your social situation. Most people here have friends, I assume, right? But you know what stinks? When your team got blown out, that jerk friend, we all have them, that they're gonna kill you when your team gets swept. You know how I know this? Because of what happened with the Chargers this past year. You know how I know this? Because it wasn't a blowout in the series, but the Padres, you know how many 22 inning jokes I've heard over the last 6 months? A lot. Oh, it's a lot, folks, let me tell you. So the total, your friends kill you and you hate it. The slander is all over the timeline, which I know that doesn't mean as much. It means more with friends. The timeline, you could lose by 1 to Michael Jordan, and then they're like, wow, you guys blew it. And it's like, well, what are we doing here, right? But the friends, they kill you, man. The people who are close to you. I know, Jeff Snyder, Locked on Dodgers, kills me all the time. You know what I mean? And I think that there's something about the blowout loss that you can't even say, you can't excuse it, because then those losers who didn't even make it in the first place start saying, well, we could have done better. You get a Pirates fan, you know what I mean, who's all like, oh, well, we would have done okay. And we haven't spent money in 13 years, but we would. Why didn't we make postseason? There's something about the friend roast that it drives me. It can drive you insane.
All right. Well, the word clutch is thrown around a lot in sports, but what does it mean to be clutch? We're going to get some opinions on that next on the Locked On MLB Squad Show. Thank you again for making Locked On MLB Squad Show your first listen today. For your second listen, we want you to check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It is playoff time in the NBA and NHL, and if you're going to listen to any of those broadcasts, you're going to hear the word clutch brought up a lot. There's going to be a clutch player. There's going to be a clutch situation. But what does it mean to be clutch? What is that? Who do you think of when you hear the word clutch when it comes to Major League Baseball? Sully, clutch. Let's start with you.
It's someone who you want to have up there, and not necessarily who had the best regular season, because we saw that, it's really unfair to this guy who's had a wonderful career so far, but Aaron Judge's postseason legacy is dropping a fly ball in the center field. That's not fair, but that's the case. Barry Bonds may have been the most talented player I've ever seen in my life, when he was skinny and not, but he had a bunch of very bad postseasons in his career. It's the people who, I could go old school and talk about people like, Reggie Jackson or Willie Stargell when I was a kid, or, obviously Kirk Gibson came up huge, not just in the 88 World Series, but in the 84 World Series, where, they don't want to walk you. But you take a look at some players now, people who you'd want to be up there at a big moment. I would say Corey Seager, who's been come up huge. He is the only person, along with Reggie Jackson, to win World Series MVPs with 2 different franchises. Freddie Freeman came up huge in the World Series with both Atlanta and Los Angeles. I think about people who have had big postseasons with multiple teams. In the late 80s, early 90s, Dave Stewart, you hand him the ball, with the exception of the Eric Davis home run in 1990. He won 3 postseason MVPs as a pitcher. Curt Schilling was the same way. And of the great Braves staff, their biggest big game pitcher was not Maddox. It was Smoltz. You hand the ball to Smoltz, and he was the one who came up huge. And also, ironically, he was their best closer. So it was kind of a strange situation there. We're starting to see that with Soto. We're starting to see that maybe, we saw he came up huge for Washington when they won the World Series, and he had a bunch of big hits with the Yankees last year. I like to take that player who isn't the huge superstar, but for whatever reason came up gigantic. And I'll just throw one other name, because this is the ultimate person who came up big in the big games while being in the regular season. Someone like Alduque Hernandez, who was an okay pitcher, and just you handed the ball in the postseason and he had ice water in his veins. I don't know how it happened, but that's just the case. So it's a hard thing to quantify, which is why the statistical folks hate it, because it's narrative driven and emotions, and they don't like narratives and they don't like emotions.
It's the last eye test that baseball still has out there that hasn't been taken over by a stat, right? Sometimes you can just feel it around a guy. And it's not necessarily always the postseason, Sully, but it's like it's the reason that I still to this day just hate Derek Jeter, because you knew that guy with all of the lights of ESPN shining upon him was going to do something, and you were going to have to watch him for 4 more weeks because that's all they were going to put on TV. There's other guys that have those moments. Anytime that Christian Yelich sees a dude on a mound wearing a Reds hat, that dude's going to go off. He's going to be clutch in that moment. Anytime, you can look at the playoff dudes, Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, right? That was a playoff guy. But there's these guys that just find a way to take the energy of a moment and deliver. And Jeter was one of the biggest examples for me of a guy that was able to do that, who most of the other time was, listen, don't tell Stacy I said this, but most of the other time was just like an average to below average shortstop. But he would have those moments and fall 4 rows into the stands, and we'd have to watch him for 4 more weeks because of ESPN. So, I mean, there's guys that just rise to the moment.
You mean defensively? I'm not going to – I'm a native New Englander who rooted for the Diamondbacks in the 2001 World Series, but don't have me defend Derek Jeter.
No, I think you should have to.
Well,
I really feel like
give you a palate cleanser reset.
Defensively, fine, but I'm not gonna. You're not like you're not gonna be. Oh, I'm so cool. I'm gonna call him Blue. No, he's one of the. He's a 3,000. He's the all-time hit leader in Yankee history, and put up MVP numbers for a bunch of years. I'm defending Derek Jeter.
Are you going to record your show in? Are you recording your show in pinstripes now? Is that what we're doing?
I now hate the Padres, and I'm now a Yankee fan.
My God.
Lifetime slash 310, 377, 440 at a lifetime OPS of 817 and 3,465 hits. Come on.
Let's hit the reset button.
I know it's cool. I know it's cool to be the contrarian, but hey, Zeus, he should have moved to third when A-Rod showed up. I'll grant you. Because defensively, he was not there. But I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
In case there's any Reds fans that love the Big Red Machine out there, we're talking about clutch. So Tony Perez, he was clutch. Anyway, had to just get that out there. Obligatory Tony Perez reference.
RBI machine.
Outside of Tony Gwynn, who's your Padres most clutch guy, Javi?
Is it too early to say Fernando Tatis Jr.? I know this is like the most boring answer I've probably ever given to any question in my life, but this guy's got like a 1,300 career OPS in